Hello everyone and welcome back to Rob Races and Rebuilds. In today's installment we're going to be doing a bit of autocross and a bit of work / discussion stuff. So to get started I gotta rewind the clock back a week to last week's autocross. I know I've been slacking on getting my videos up, but anyways. Last week we raced Shingo and we placed second to a Mark 6 Golf. Him and I have been having some pretty good battles already throughout the season, but he ended up beating me on this one. And our separation was less than 1/10 of a second. It was 0.092, so good race. But anyways, I will show you guys that, and then we'll discuss what we're doing in the shop here tonight. So having seen that, I want your guys' opinion that watch the autocross videos. Do you guys like the new camera angle, which is like an upside down sunroof mount, or did you prefer it as the POV on my helmet? I'm indifferent. I kind of didn't mind switching it up a little bit, but if I'm going to continue to do that, I want to get a better mount where you can see me driving more. I think that would be more interesting, but let me know what you guys think. So back to that race though. Like I was saying, I got second to the Golf. And I don't think that was car related. I think it was purely driver. I mean, we were basically tied, but he came out on top. But every time I don't win, it leads me down this garden path of what else should I do to the car? What else could I have done? And really, I mean, probably nothing. But because I'm me and I want to touch stuff, I'm going to play with one more bump stop adjustment and see if I can even perceive a difference in the car. I kind of doubt I will. But I want to increase the rear bump stiffness. I'm actually going to be cutting out 3 sets of bump stops out of this material. Or not bump stops, but packers for 3 of the Civic SIs in my club. Those guys want to try it after my buddy Kurt drove my car and said he liked the way the front end felt. The other guys kind of wanted on board, so I'm going to cut out a set of packers for each of those guys and take those to them tomorrow for racing. But while I'm doing that, I figured let's upgrade to this thicker stuff in the rear and give it a shot. Currently, it has this thickness in the back, which is 1/4 inch-ish. And I think I have some more rear bump stops you can play with, so I'd like to do that tonight. And I would also like to have a close look at my rear sway bar. When I left autocross the other night, when I was pulling in and out of parking lots, when like the suspension is angled and binding, I was hearing a lot of creaking. And now, I don't remember if Shingo's butt was always that creaky. It may have been, I don't know. It seemed extra loud to me, so I'm not sure if that's the enlargement of the bar and the different bushings just making more noise, or I'm worried I might have a cracked subframe. I hope that's not the case. But for you guys that have H Street Civics, 9th or 8th gen, that run the big bar, how creaky is the butt in your car? Does it do the when you drive over bumps or not? honestly just don't remember. So I want to have a good look at it, make sure it's okay. Because I did go to the bigger bar this year and we did go to the beefier brackets. But while we have it apart, I would also like to have a look at our tire wear. I'm approaching 15 runs on these tires. And maybe, I'll have to check the dash, but I want to say close to 14 or 1500 kilometers of highway use, which is to and from the autocross lot. Anyway, so yeah, I'd like to look at the tires with you guys, see how those are wearing, maybe check out our current alignment specs and see if there's something more to be gained there. Mostly I want to see what the rear toe is doing, because I towed it out a bit last year and it made the car feel better. And the car feels good. But I'm wondering if I could go a little bit farther on the rear toe, as long as it's not murdering tires. The thing about these cars is once the suspension compresses, they tow back in. And generally when I'm driving to and from an event, I have my gear in the back of the car. So that does lower it a little, or compress it a little. So it helps to keep the toe in check. The other thing is when I do my alignments, I do it with no spare tire and almost no fuel in the car. So that also lightens it up. Which in turn, when it has more fuel in it, has my gear in it, has a spare tire in it, it's going to sit lower and shouldn't be towed out as much. So if the tire wear looks good, I might get it aligned in the next coming weeks here and add a bit more rear toe, but that's to be determined. Right now we're just flopping our gums to, I don't know, we're talking for the sake of talking. So why don't I get this thing jacked up and we will have a look at our tires and have a look at our frame and go from there. Okay, wheels and tires are off, and pretty good news, honestly. If we look here, hopefully the camera will pick it up, but from this edge down to this edge, these tires haven't even been touched. Like, I've still got the nibs here. I can still see these mold lines over here. So generally I want to say toe wear is going to happen in this area. And if any is happening, it's right up here in the meatiest part of the tire. So I'm pretty happy with the way those look. We've got a little bit of the rougher wear on the outside there, obviously, but the centers are worn super nice. They hardly look like they've been driven on. So, and that's the case for both. I would say if anything, this one is slightly worse, but it's the same, you know. I can see the mold lines and the nibs are still sort of there. Not quite as much, but they look good. Like I said, they barely look used. So that makes me want to try more rear toe out. The fronts seem to be happy. I mean, we're wearing down to our triangle as usual. But our center rib wear seems decent. Usually this portion of the tire takes a sharp dive off really fast on the outside because of the lack of camber in our cars. But these are wearing quite evenly. But the thing I'm having trouble bridging is I generally co-drive this car. Like last year, I don't know that this car really ever did an event without a co-driver. It was very rare if it did happen. So I think I'm used to seeing accelerated wear when I'm having a two-driver car. And this year, it's only been co-driven on one event. So I don't know if some of that's placebo, that I think the tires are wearing better, or if it's the fact that it's just me driving the car. Because there's kind of two factors at work there. You've got the fact that the car's getting half the runs, And you've got the fact that different people drive differently on their front tires. And in a camber challenged car, it can be very easy to overdrive the front tires. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I want to say on the spectrum of how abusive are you to your tires, I want to say I'm not that abusive. I think I treat mine pretty nice. I'm usually pretty ginger in the corners. When I go for ride-alongs with my friends and their 8th gens, it feels like their corner speed is, like their mid-corner speed feels like it's generally higher than mine. And you can feel the front tire is struggling because of that. So I guess that was a really roundabout way of me saying I'm not sure if the tires are wearing better or not because of the front bump stops. I'd like to think they are, but the mind fills in gaps. You know how it works. Oof. So yeah, with that, I mean, I'm pretty happy. I think we'll address an alignment change here in the next coming weeks. I'll have to talk to my buddy, see if there's an evening he can help me do it. But for tonight, I'm going to get these rear shocks off so that we can fiddle around with the rear bump stops. And I'm going to get under there and check my frame for cracks. Cross your toes and your fingers and your teeth and make sure we're not having a cracked frame. Anyways, I'm not bringing you down there with me. There's no room. It's dark. So I'll update you when I'm ready to, which for you will be a second from now. For me, I don't know, 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Okay, it's been more like an hour. I cut out the Packers for my fellow 8th Street Civics, and I personally inscribed them with a Sharpie, personalized for each of them, so hopefully that makes them laugh. They'll just have to drill out the center portion larger for their shock, and they'll be good to go. And I also cut out another set for moi for the rear. And you can see I already cored mine out. Oh, it's in my eyeball. Cored them out so they can fit over the little lumpy lump that is on the rear shock right there. So what I need to decide, I went through my little bump stop emporium here, and I only have one extra set of rear bumps, and they're not brand new, but they're uncut. Almost don't want to sacrifice those, and I'm thinking I should just cut the ones I have already cut down further and use those. And if I end up not liking this, I can always go back to stock or back to the first stage of bump I had the first time. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut down the old ones so we match legalities. Put those back together, throw those in the car. And while I was under the car, I pulled the sway bar brackets down. I just took the 2 bolts out and tilted the brackets out of the way. I just did them one at a time, and there was no cracks. So that's a relief. I guess the bigger bar is just creaky. It's got a creaky butt. What can you do? Yeah. Oh, and I noticed while I was down there, my exhaust is getting a nice, beautiful purple hue to it. I'll post a picture of it here. It looks pretty nice. But regardless of all that, I figured while we're getting into dumb, tedious, probably pointless, I don't know, bump stop modifications, why don't we talk a little bit more minutiae of 8th Street? I've seen on the Facebook page that people are getting up in arms about it being a spec class, being a 10th gen. You got to buy a 10th gen Civic Sport to win. Older cars can't win anymore. And I mean, it seems like when you look at national results, that is the case. But It's hard to see if other cars can win when only people with 10 Sports signed up. But the reason I bring this up is the GTI that I'm battling with in H Street this season. The driver is a fellow I've raced with before, but he didn't have as competitive as a car previously, so he just picked up the GTI this year. And that era, the Mark 6, which I think is 2010 to 2014, could be wrong, not a Volkswagen guy. Those were moved to H Street last year, and I don't think a lot of people have tried campaigning them. But I was looking up old results, and I don't have it written here which event this was. It was a national tour event, but I don't remember where. And I want to say it was in 2020. But I'm just comparing a 2013 GTI that at that time was in G Street. It raw timed the first place of H Street, which was a 2020 Civic Sport. It raw timed that car by about 2 seconds. And I mean, yes, you're probably thinking in your head, well, yeah, duh, G Street should raw time H Street. But now those two cars are in the same class. And if it was able... Okay, I guess it's not quite 2 seconds. It's... Okay, my math was rightish. 2.3 seconds. The G Street GTI raw timed first place in a H Street Civic Sport by 2.3 seconds. And keep in mind that GTI was only second place in G Street. It was 0.2 behind a 10th Gen Civic. So, my point of all that is if that car could raw time a Civic Sport on a national level course, that's gotta be a good car for H Street, no? So I started looking at it, just basic information I can Google. I didn't dive too deep. Again, not a Volkswagen guy. If it's not evident. But if you compare the wheelbase of that GTI to Shingo, Shingo's 106.3 inches. That GTI is 101.5 inches. Yes, so damn near 5 inch shorter wheelbase. And on the small lots that we run in, 5 inches is a lot. What else did I write down? Ah, yes, the torque and the horsepower. So horsepower is basically negligible. The GTI is 200, the SI is 197. Same. But what's sweet about the GTI is it makes 207 foot-pounds versus the SI's 139 foot-pounds. And it does it at something stupid like 1800 RPM. And I think my car is at like 7100. I don't know. It's up there. And the other cool thing about it is it has 7.5 inch wheels versus the 7 inch wheels that I run. So if you're comparing it to a Sport, it's still down 0.5 inch, but you can definitely put a little more tire on a 7.5 than a 7, so that's pretty interesting. But delving even deeper into that, this is just, I Googled curb weights, so obviously this is not exact science because we're going to be taking the spares out of the cars. We're going to have a minimal amount of gas in the cars. We're going to have a lighter wheel package on the cars, etc. So this isn't exact, but the GTI's curb weight that I found was 3,113 pounds versus Shingo's 2,954 pounds. Let me see what the difference of that is here. So that's a net difference of 159 pounds. Again, rough figures. That's about a driver, depending how big you are. That's a lot, right? Like, Shingo obviously has a weight advantage. But the GTI is running 245s squared and I'm running, as you guys know, a 235 in the front and a 215 in the back. So the net total of section width on the GTI is 980 mil, and on my car it's 900 mil. So I do have less tire touching the pavement, but because I'm lighter, the GTI actually comes out at 3.176 pounds per millimeter of section width. Not per millimeter, but per total millimeter. And my car comes out at 3.28, which is just a C hair better. So that is interesting. I mean, virtually indistinguishable. As I said, minutiae. I'm not saying this to make up excuses or anything. It's interesting to see that car on paper. It looks really good for the class. And the one that's in my club, he is a very good driver, but the car isn't super set up. Like, I don't even think he's aligned it. He said he plans to, but basically he put a set of RPF 1s on it, 245 sticker stones, and I think it has a sway bar. I don't know what sway bar, but oh, and it's a DSG. So the thing that scares me about that car is he's just brushed the surface probably of the car's capabilities. I don't know what they have for camber adjustment. I don't know what they come with for factory for camber. I don't know any of these things. But I have dived. I went in the rabbit hole far. We're in there, like my fucking feet aren't even sticking out anymore with this car. I have done everything I can to maximize this car in its class. There's not much more. I mean, we know I can align it a little more aggressively after looking at our tire wear, but how much is that really going to net us? And obviously we're playing with some rear bump stops here, but mostly we're just playing for fun to see if we can make it feel a little better. So yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see where the season goes against the GTI and if he modifies it any further and if I can continue to beat it. So far, we are 2-2. He beat me in the 9th gen because I coned out, and I think he would have beat me anyways. Even if I didn't cone out, I'm pretty sure I still would have been behind him by 0.2. And then after that, I brought Shingo for 2 events, and I beat him those 2 events. And the most recent event that you guys just seen at the beginning of the video, he beat me. So I guess we'll see what'll happen tomorrow. Anyways, I think that's enough bibble babbling. If you guys do race H Street and there is a Mark 6 GTI in your club or region, I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to know how other guys are doing with them, or if other guys are even using them, because they're still pretty fresh to the class. But regardless, we're going to stick to 8th gen Civics, because it's what we know, it's what we can afford, and it's what we love. If the GTI gets too good, I might be tempted to prep the silver car. No, I said I wasn't gonna, but we're 60 or 70 pounds lighter, we're 2-inch shorter wheelbase, and we got a bigger front sway bar with coupe. So we're already at a way better starting place than we are with Shingo. But for now, I'm going to continue to campaign Shingo. Anywho, I think that's really all I want to say to you guys tonight. I'm going to slap this car back together. There's nothing interesting you need to see. I showed you the bump stop changes we're going to make, and then we'll do an alignment soon, and I'll touch base with you guys in a future video. But that's going to be it for this one. If you watched all the way to the end, I appreciate you. And we'll catch you in the next one, which will probably be a few days after this is posted, for yet another race video, and we'll see if we prevail over the GTI or not. So, have a good one, guys. Peace out.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.